Interpersonal communication is defined by Friend and Cook, 2017, as a complex transactional process through which people create shared meanings through continuously and simultaneously exchanging messages. There are many components that make up communication. As stated in the definition, communication is transactional, which means both participants simultaneously send and receive messages through verbal and nonverbal means. This component highly correlates with the second component of using multiple channels. A channel is a method by which we transmit our messages and determine how the message was received and interpreted by the other participant. We often use multiple channels simultaneously to reinforce the information conveyed. Communication is also unavoidable and irreversible. Whether it's intentional or not, we are constantly verbally or non-verbally communicating. It's important that we self-monitor and be mindful of who we're communicating with. The personal experiences of the individuals, the physical setting of the environment, and the physical, psychological, and sociological interferences, otherwise known as noise, can affect the interpretation of the messages being sent and received. When defining communication, our minds often go to the content dimensions or the information being given, but there are also relational dimensions that we need to understand, and our relational dimensions are how we express our feelings towards the other participant. Both the information and our feelings work simultaneously, but the level of importance between them may vary. It just depends on the intention of the message being given. As educators who are constantly communicating, we like to believe that we are effective in communication. However, we need to continuously develop and refine our skills to communicate effectively to gain competence. Despite all the knowledge we gained about collaboration, we must continue to learn more and learn how to navigate the communication barriers that may exist. As previously stated, interpersonal competence is essential for developing interpersonal communication skills. Interpersonal competence includes behavioral or skill dimensions, including communication competence, as well as cognitive ability dimensions. The cognitive ability dimension analyzes a person's personal perspective and the impact it has on interpersonal interactions. Within this domain, we will explore subcategories of perception and cultural influence that construct the individual's perspective. Once we establish that dimension, we are able to focus on behavioral dimensions. The behavioral dimension refers to the development, adaptation, and adept use of communication skills. This dimension enables a person to not only understand how to communicate effectively, but when to apply these skills appropriately. The overarching subcategory of cognitive ability dimensions is perspective. A person's perspective is created through a compilation of past experiences, values, beliefs, attitudes, and personal qualities that shape the way they observe, perceive information, and behave accordingly. The process in which we understand and use the information given to us refers to our perception. Our perception and cultural influence largely affects our perspective and how we navigate the world around us. Perception is defined as the process of selecting, organizing, interpreting, and negotiating the information presented to us. When selecting information, we choose particular information that we deem most important. We organize and interpret the information given to us in schemas of similarities and assign meaning to the information based on our past experiences or assumptions and expectations of the behavior. Once we have a good understanding of the information given to us, we start to negotiate that information through transactional communication to influence one's perception and create a shared meaning among all participants. Managing your perception is crucial because it shapes a person's understanding of the individual they're communicating with. If not properly managed with open-mindedness, the goal of shared understanding will be lost. The following practices should be considered to develop and maintain interpersonal competence. One must understand your own perspective, be aware of biases you may have accumulated, recognize your own emotional state and how it may influence your perception. Avoid early conclusions of an individual or idea. Seek additional clarification through dialogue if the information is unclear, and avoid confirmation or disconfirmation of preconceived biases. The behavioral skills of communication competence must be both effective and appropriate. For communication to be effective, it must accomplish the intended outcome of the specific interaction. To be appropriate, the conversation must be adapted and geared toward the intended audience. There are many central elements of competent communication. Effective communicators must develop a large range of communication skills in order to pursue all types of goals and interact with different types of people. Having a large range of communication skills also allows us to select and adapt the communication we need in particular contexts for specific goals or for different types of communicators. Other central elements for competent communication would be to monitor your own behaviors and communicate ethically with unique individuals.